Fail faster. And that sounds like something you'd never want to hear, especially whenever you're just launching your first business. But at the end of this video, I think you'll understand where I'm coming from when I say that. And hopefully this will give you some comfort about your own journey as well. So be sure you stay tuned. Now, just to clarify, when I say failing fast, what I really mean is I like to compare it to learning a new skill, right? Or even working out. If you think about the first time you might have worked out, if that's what you're into, everything you were doing at the beginning, you weren't sure if you were making mistakes. You knew that you weren't doing it exactly the way you were supposed to be doing it, right? And you didn't necessarily give up right in the beginning. What you did was you made mistakes, you learned from them, and you continue to improve. Same thing when you're learning a new skill. If you've ever played a sport or you've ever tried any new skill, right? I don't know, maybe playing chess or whatever the case may be, you made mistakes at the beginning. And that's exactly what's gonna happen when it comes to building a business. I think a lot of the times what happens is people try to build a business and they fail or make a mistake while they're trying to run their business. And because of that mistake, they decide to give up because they decide, hey, it's not for me. So really the crux of it is that when I say failing fast, I mean more of you want to quickly learn from these mistakes that you're going to make anyways, right? Especially because you're doing something new, entrepreneurship, especially if it's your first business. So you will mess up in the beginning, but little by little, you're going to continue to get better and better and better. And I think that's really the part that a lot of times we forget to think about, right? You're going to see continuous improvement, and it's going to be kind of like you stacking success, your little successes on top of little successes until you reach whatever your ultimate goal is. Now, I think this is huge. It's extremely important, especially whenever you're first starting off. You know, I remember back in the day, especially when Facebook was just getting started, they had a model of move fast, break things. The whole idea was we're trying to move as fast as we can, and we want to see things breaking. That way we can quickly fix them and continue moving, right? The idea being, you know, we want to be able to continuously improve as rapidly as possible, because especially when you're creating literally a new niche or something, a new technology that other people are going to try to compete with you as well. You got to think about it at the time. There was Facebook. Even before Facebook, people were using MySpace. And even before MySpace, and this is before my generation, right? I was too young at that point, but there was other platforms that people were using even before MySpace. So you got to keep that in mind. And that's the kind of landscape that Facebook grew out of. And so they knew that, hey, we have to focus and we have to be able to move as fast as possible if we have any intentions of surpassing all these other competitors that are in the same landscape as us. So the first point I want to touch on is identifying and being able to address problems early. This is huge, okay? I've made these mistakes in the past. You know, you want to avoid making any type of costly mistakes. Now, you can do this by, first off, making sure that you're reducing any type of financial loss that you might actually incur, you might actually take, by identifying and addressing issues extremely early. I realized I made this type of mistake in the past. I wouldn't realize that there was something that was costing me money until way down the line, and I realized that, hey, you know, I was losing 5% or 10% of revenue because of this one little thing. It might not sound like much, 5 to 10%, especially when you're first starting off, but those can compound, especially when you have 3 or 4 mistakes that are costing you 5 to 10%. And I think really when it comes to business, it's almost like a math game. You have to realize that all these little things, as you fix them, will help you be able to make more of a profit that can help you grow your business in the long term. Another mistake I made in the past was I was more of like a gambler in the past. And so what I would do is when I put money into something, either an idea or even a concept or even a new marketing technique, I would keep trying that same technique until I made my money back. I just didn't want to accept defeat in a sense. Now, this led me to a concept that's called sunk cost. And you know, you trying to avoid sunk cost, because what tends to happen is as you keep pouring money into something, you almost feel like you have to keep pouring money into this thing because you haven't either broken even or you haven't made a profit on it. So you just continually pour money into it, thinking that, oh, you know, in the future, somehow I'm gonna eventually make all this money back, right? Even though that might not be the case. So you know, wasting money not only on this, but the worst part is the opportunity cost is what I look at. That money could have been spent trying another technique or another marketing channel that would have potentially made you the money or made you the profits that you're looking for. The next thing you want to look at is responding quickly to customer feedback. Now, I'm still working on this and I've gotten better over time, but I'm definitely not perfect at all. I've started trying to work more towards collecting feedback from customers and making changes to improve the product, or if you're offering a service, your service, by taking in the inputs that you're receiving from them. If you have 1,000 customers and 200 of them are telling you about how some part of your product isn't good, then you know, hey, 20% of my customers don't like this part of my product. That's something I need to look at and potentially improving. This to me is huge, guys. I've really started implementing surveys ways to try to understand what my customers like and what they don't like about my offerings, right? And the reason being is, one, especially if you have, like an example I gave, 20% or 200 of your customers are telling you that a certain part of your product that's not good, that probably means that there's a lot more people who think that just haven't reached out or haven't even told, they don't talk much. Maybe they're not the type to reach out to you and tell you that, or they're not the type to fill out surveys and let you know exactly that. Another thing you want to look at is responding to negative feedback and making adjustments to better meet your customers' needs. With this technique, that's exactly how I was able to actually continue growing my channel, because throughout everything that I've gone through, I've had people reach out to me and even give negative comments. You might have people literally bashing you, but you need to look at it from like more of an analytical lens than taking it like emotionally. If you have customers telling you how bad or how trash your product is, don't look at it and say, oh, like this dude's bashing me, or take it like from a place of anger. You need to look at it as, especially if they're saying something that has some truth to it, you need to just accept the negative feedback and use it to grow, right? And grow from it. So that's something that is big and something that I have to really work on. And lastly, from this point, is adapting to changes in the market. You want to be monitoring exactly what kind of changes are happening in the market and responding quickly to stay ahead of your competitors. I've been extremely terrible at this in the past. I've almost been in my own bubble whenever I look specifically at YouTube. There were times where I saw trends that I didn't want to focus on, even though that's what viewers wanted to see. And I kind of try to stay in my own lane and focus on only what I wanted to talk about, only to realize months later about how I missed some huge trend. And eventually I would get emails of people saying, oh, why don't you talk about this? Why don't you talk about that? And by then I had already missed the trend. That could help me grow even faster as a channel, but also been able to give the content that people wanted to see. So I'm always open to receiving new content ideas, or even if you have questions. That's why I always ask you guys, if you have any type of questions, you have any concerns, whatever the case may be, throw it down in the comments. I'm always open to hearing exactly what you guys have to say and using that to kind of guide exactly what kind of content I'm gonna be shooting on the channel. So for me, it's big, being open to pivoting the business model, especially whenever it's necessary. I like to think of, for example, American Express. American Express used to deliver mail. A lot of people don't know that, but now they focus on credit cards, right? They had to pivot their model. Or maybe Netflix. For example, Netflix, they used to focus on renting DVDs, then they pivoted to a subscription model, and then eventually an online video content model that really changed the game. Now everyone's using pretty much Netflix's model nowadays, right? A lot of the platforms want to charge you a monthly fee and give you access to unlimited types of video content. Or for example, you're watching YouTube. A lot of people don't even know when YouTube first started. It was originally supposed to be a dating site. The whole idea of YouTube was it's you pretty much posting videos of yourself that other people could see and decide, hey, maybe I want to go on a date with this person. But eventually what happened was people just started posting whatever types of videos that they wanted, and the rest was history. The owners realized they had to make a pivot, and they decided to turn it into what it is today, a site where anybody could post any types of videos that they wanted. Now the next point is going to be accelerating the learning process. This is huge, guys. You want to be experimenting and testing new ideas. This is currently what I'm going through as well. Once you're not afraid to fail, the great thing that comes is that you'll start seeing that you're more inclined to try out new ideas and even new avenues. But the thing is, you need to be able to quickly determine what ideas are successful and which ones are not, and be able to cut the losers immediately. So me, what I've been doing is trying to focus more on data to be able to do this. Seeing, for example, if I'm making changes to a certain page on my website, seeing, hey, is this thing making more people want to stay on my website, or is it making less people, right? That type of idea. Another thing which is huge for me is building a culture of innovation, right? Like I told you guys in past videos, now I'm looking to grow out my team, have more people helping me with different aspects of my business. And this is really my new challenge. As I'm looking to build this team, I want to make sure that everyone isn't afraid to test and innovate and do all that, right? I want people to feel like they can try out new things and they can fail, and that's okay, right? So it's really big about encouraging your employees to be able to take risks and experiment. I'm not talking about blowout risks, like they're willing to risk the farm, right? It's more of these trying out new little things are going to give you like those incremental gains that in the long term, after a year, you look back and say, wow, like my business grew like double because of all these little changes that we were able to enact. So it's big about just creating an environment where failure is accepted in a sense, right? And learning from mistakes is valued, right? That's huge. You don't want it to be a situation where you make your employees feel bad about trying things, because then they're not going to want to try things and you're going to literally stay stagnant and at the same point. Another thing you want to look at is increasing your speed and agility. Like you want to be able to move as fast as possible. You want to be able to respond quickly to whatever changes you see happening in the market or based off of your customer's need. That's a saying that we had in football, was speed kills. The one who can move the fastest or the one who's more nimble is likely going to be the one who's going to do the best. So that's something that you always want to keep in your mind as well. And the final point I'm going to touch on is minimizing risk and maximizing your potential. Just because we're talking about failing fast doesn't mean that you want to risk the farm, like I was mentioning, right? right? Or risk catastrophic failure. You need to be taking strategic risk, right? Not betting it all on red, as you hear people say, right? This is not you gambling. This is more of you like making little small changes that over the long term, all these changes stack on top of each other. And from there, you see a huge change from today compared to a year ago. That's the kind of changes that I'm currently doing. It's not me changing everything completely and hoping that it works. So me, what I've been big on is experimenting, learning from new ideas and determining what works and what doesn't, then immediately trying to pivot. So I've been focused on having a set time in my calendar where, we look at experiments we are currently running for the month or so. Maybe it could be a month, it could be a quarter, whatever the case, and then seeing what the results are, as well as us trying to just run new experiments constantly, right? So we look at how our past experiments have done, and we cut the ones that aren't working, and then we create new experiments to see how they're going to do. And that's how you're going to be able to see that, your business is continuously improving. You're continually getting better and better at everything you do. So hopefully that helps you guys who are looking to start your own business. I just wanted to start talking more about my experience, right? Things that I'm currently going through or I'm currently having to look at in hopes that if you're at my stage, this can help you too. Or if you're just getting started, you at least know what to expect down the road. You kind of have an idea where you need to be headed. Because especially whenever I was first starting, I didn't really know what to do or where I was supposed to go. So I was just kind of willy-nilly just trying everything, right? And I think that kind of slowed me down and made my progress or my speed, how fast I was growing, both as my business and me personally or professionally, it kind of slowed down that progress, okay? So these are some ideas of what you can be thinking about, guys. Be sure you throw down in the comment any other questions that you might have when it comes to running a business, and I'll be happy to shoot a video and touch on those things as well, especially if it's something that I'm currently doing. That way you guys can really see more like behind the scenes or kind of hearing what my thought process has been and kind of what I've learned from other people as well. Alrighty, so that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace.